wonderful viewers. Welcome to yet another episode of Talking Thoughts by Isabel. And yeah, today we have still an amazing June Kemunto in our show today. And of course, she's not a guest now. She's actually my host. And actually, she's the one who will be she's the author of the topic we are talking about today. And I trust that we're all going to have an amazing conversation, and we're still going to learn one or two things from today's conversation. And guys, I still want to ask you to kindly support us, subscribe, view our work, and just comment there below. We are growing and we're young, but I know if you give us the support, one day we shall actually testify. Yeah, so June, I want to welcome you in a special way, and thank you for the continued support that you've offered or rendered to my channel. Ever since I approached you the first day, you've always been there to support me. I don't take it for granted. And I also want to give credit to actually my producer. He's called Princey, and he's also been doing a good job to me and just supporting me here and there. So God bless you, Mr. Producer. And thank you. Yeah, so over to you, June.
Thank you so much. I don't even need to introduce myself again. Yeah. Hello, viewer. Welcome to today's talk. Or we're just going to have a very brief conversation, and we're talking about why you should not make anyone as your standard of measure. Yeah, because it's a big challenge actually.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I normally call those people copycats. They just copy paste
somebody's life. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because actually you cannot be me, you know.
Yeah.
If maybe you are a professional, maybe you are a lawyer. I might just want to be a lawyer, but actually not June. Because if I become June, then that's not my identity. And I think I talked about that in our first ever video. So you can watch. It's copycatting somebody's life for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
True. Yeah.
So there are so many people who look up to people or someone, and they just want to be like them, exactly like them. Their lifestyle, whatever they do, yeah, whatever they eat, how they speak, and everything.
The car they drive, if they're driving, and things, such kind of things, you know.
Yeah.
But again, you can admire, I think, somebody, it's good if they have maybe positive traits and everything. But you can just admire. Let me say, for example, if maybe you admire me, I don't say that it is the truth, but that's just an example.
Yeah.
I have 3 children. I have 2 boys and 1 girl. You can just admire my family, but you cannot admire me to an extent of I also want to have 2 boys and 1 girl like her, you know. That's now far from it's something that is beyond. Yeah.
So on this case, I want us to narrow it down, especially to what we'll understand more in a church setup. Yeah. Like you see, in a church setup, you look up to someone, and when they do a mistake, you're like, why are they doing this mistake?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you feel it's also okay for you to do the same mistake, because you look up to this point, you're like, this is a church elder, this is a deaconess, and you're like, if these people are doing what I'm also doing, what's the problem? They're just doing what I'm doing. At the end of it all, maybe you look at let me give you an example. A girl gets pregnant in church. Yeah, maybe let's say a pastor's kid. Yeah, because we love using that example.
Yeah.
And then you're like, na si msichana babake ni pastor. Yeah, kwa nini amepata ball, like they are not supposed to get that while pregnant, you know.
So it's like we're setting standards too high to just human beings like us, which is also not right. But again, I would put it this way, that I am maybe a church elder, for example, and maybe I've put my children in a position whereby I'm like, my children cannot do such kind of things, June, you know, because when children are growing up, this thing happens in church every other day, you know, when we have young children, and you know, sometimes they throw tantrums and they misbehave in church, and you know, some people those strong church members, they would be like, Isabel doesn't discipline their child, you know, that's why their children are maybe the child is misbehaving in church and all that. So I think sometimes we set standards to like, if we are in a position, like in a certain position higher than others, we set standards that maybe we cannot meet, you know. Using the example that I've given you, but again I can give another example. Like this, maybe a pastor, like the way you are saying that even pastor kids are normal human being and they can do wrong things and all that, it is very true. But what if this pastor or elder has set a standard to young, maybe children or young girls of her daughter or son's age, whereby he's so judgmental? Like if in any case a matter has risen whereby somebody, a young adult, has committed some kind of wrong thing, the way the case is handled is like, you know, the holier than thou attitude, you know. Yeah, so that's what bring about me maybe judging a pastor's child or a elder's child in a different way, because I'll be like, even her child or his child can do that, and the way he or she is always maybe talking high about the children. So it's also about also the standard that we set. I think so. I don't.
Yeah, of course. But come to think of it, yeah, we may look at them differently. But as much as we look at them differently, salvation is also personal.
Very personal, and that's why salvation is very personal too. And that's why, as a pastor or as an elder, I should not be in a position to judge somebody, and think that I'm more saved than them. You know, if we are treading from that direction, then I don't think if we'll have such issues of maybe role model disappointment and such kind of things. Yeah.
You see, like for instance, what you said before. Maybe my child is making noise in church and people are like, hey, she's a church leader, the child should not be making noise. But again, you've done your part as a parent. You've guided your son or your daughter the right way they should go. Now, maybe at times they just tend to misbehave. We should not look at it like, this one should not be making noise, but mine can make noise. I am not a church leader, I'm just a member. That should not be the case.
The point that you're bringing about is very true and very important, but it also takes you as a person. How do you carry yourself, you know? How do I carry, I'm a church leader and all that, how do I carry myself? When I see somebody misbehaving, how do I carry myself actually? Because that's what brings about the judging and maybe the laughing at and all that. Yeah, so I think from the point that I'm viewing this is that whatever the standard you are in maybe at your workplace, or we're using a church setup, let me just stick to it. In church setup, maybe you are a finance officer, maybe you are a deacon or deaconess, an elder, we should be less judgmental, less we be judged, you know. Less maybe if unfortunate incidents takes place in our life, maybe we can be just viewed like normal people. But from my perspective, I always, like, I'm in a place whereby I know even a pastor can mess, you know, and I won't definitely judge them, or I won't feel some type of a way, because this is just a human being. Yeah, so I think your point is that we should view them as human beings as well.
Yeah, because you know these people also have responsibility. Not necessarily, kuna pastors wenye watoto wao wamewashinda from home.
True.
Maybe at that point they're just praying for their children to change, you know. So we cannot just say that because they are leaders, you know, for them they're also there to guide us, to correct us where things go wrong. They're the same people who sit in church to decide matters that concerns the church. So when they come and tell you that this is the way, this is what has happened, it doesn't mean that for them they are perfect.
Yeah.
Even them, they can face the same challenges you're facing. So when it's time for correction, they'll correct you. But don't look at them and say, you're correcting me and even your son is a drunkard, you know.
Yeah, it's not right, because like pastor's son or elder's son might be maybe a drunkard or immoral or something out of behavior, but if it doesn't mean that a pastor cannot give my child an advice, even if they still can give my children advice, and it can help them in life. And I always say that even if I know the past of a pastor, maybe I know, sorry pastors and elders, we're just using you as an example, it is not true whatever we're saying about you. So msikasirike.
Msikach.
Yeah, msikach. So Like maybe I know a pastor of an elder or a pastor, and they are maybe in the pulpit and preaching. I will always listen to whatever they are saying to me. You know, it can help me, even if it doesn't help them. It can help me. So it's only that we do take it personal to an extent whereby even if these people are now given a podium to maybe say something important, we really don't like take them serious. We just ignore, which is not right, and it is not helping us. Yeah.
So one thing I should say, that looking at someone and putting them to be your standard, like this lady dresses like this, so I'll also dress like this, because the people just copy. Maybe they look at someone and say, I love how she dresses, but maybe the way she dresses is not the right way.
It's not the right
maybe
way.
She knows, but she is not maybe she's not changed from inside, not converted. Yeah, there's a point it will reach and these people will change. But don't use them as an example. They won't tell me anything. She's this and this in child, but she's dressing like this. There's no problem with me dressing the same way, because she's also doing the same thing. Because you realize that most people do that in church. True. And even when it comes to feeding, you'll see maybe somebody's feeding their children in church, maybe seated next to you, and you also do the same thing, because this one is doing, so what's the problem? I can also do. So we end up copying the wrong things, which should not actually be the case.
So I think the most important thing is just to know you as a person. It's always, everything takes just identity, just your self-identity. I am Isabel, of course I am a Christian, so what do I stand with, you know? From us, like from our show is always about, we are so big in God, and we will always say that, we won't shy away from saying it. So it's about June as a woman, or a wife, a wife and a mother. What do you stand for? You don't come and do what Isabel does because we go to the same church with Isabel. Maybe I understand the Bible the different way. And maybe the wrong way, you know. Or maybe June does it the wrong way and everything. So if I try and copy June, then I'm doing the wrong thing. It's all about just me knowing myself and what I stand for and what is right, you know.
Another example, you find maybe couples in church. Somebody comes to church, they sit with their husband until evening, or when we are done with church, the first session. They are there always, and you're a person you also want the same to happen to your family. It's like now you're going to force issues where they're not supposed to be.
You can even fight over, you know. I know outside here there are couples who are even fighting over other couples like life, you know. They want to really to copy paste. Maybe they've bought a car, maybe they've moved to, maybe they've built or something, and I'm like with my husband that you see Akina June, they have built, what are they doing? We are doing nothing, you know. Such kind of things which are not really right, you know.
Those things break marriages, by the way, because you start comparing. They do this, they carry food to church, and they come with this car. You want to live as them, but you will not. Maybe you don't afford at that time, or you live a fake life, or you end up being depressed.
And it applies even to mothers, by the way. But I thank God that we, the mothers that we are coming up, we are not like our mothers who will compare myself to somebody's daughter, you know, and want me to behave in a certain way to fit whatever maybe she wants me to be, you know. There's, you know, I have my child in my mind, you know, my firstborn. There's who I want him to be. That is me, you know. When he grows up, he would have to be himself, you know. So by the time I'm trying to force my perspective on my child's life, I'm really maybe confusing them even more, or just maybe meddling in their identity, you know. So I thank God that we won't be such kind of mothers who would really force our children to be like June's children, which is not right.
Another thing comes in is language. You go to church, you find their kids who only speak English when they come to church, and some mix it up, some Sheng, some Kiswahili. Even if you call them, they will not come. They don't understand.
They don't understand.
They'll come. So there are these kind of parents who would want their kids to be like somebody else's kids. There's a case of a certain lady. She wanted her daughter to learn English. Like, she just wanted the daughter to be speaking in English. So anytime, she was working along the road, she had a business. So when they come to the business, where she has the business, there are other kids there. Those kids speak Kiswahili. So, of course, it will interfere with the child. But now the mother doesn't want the child to speak Kiswahili. So anytime anamuita anamwambia come here, and the baby is like ni kama asikijua shazoea Kiswahili. So she's like come here, the baby will not come. So she wants to insist with that English, and it ended up like this kid now cannot even speak kabisa.
Wow,
it's like she became confused.
Afraid.
Yeah.
And maybe she was like confused and everything, right? Yeah, wow. So
I saw that kid when she was still young, and even up to this moment she cannot even speak. Yes, I think
she cannot speak.
Yeah,
even Kiswahili.
She ended up shutting. She talks. But now I don't know what really happened, because she just shut kabisa. Akifika home, the mama ako like anataka kumuongelesha
some kind of pressure.
Yeah, that pressure. And when the kid is outside, they're talking Kiswahili normally. But when the kid wants to speak, no, speak in English. No, speak, you know.
She's forcing.
Yeah.
She's forcing what she wants in that child. Yeah, the child was a bit young. Yeah, how many years old?
2.
2 years. 2 years. Of course, you can introduce them to a language that you want, but depends with the environment. You know, children learn language within the environment. You know, I cannot take my child to a school whereby maybe they rarely speak English or they rarely speak vocabularies, and then I want my baby to know these vocabularies. It is not possible.
It is not possible.
So whatever you want for your child is environment always matter a lot in what people are going to be when they grow up, because they say that like your network is your net worth. It is very true. The people you interact with, they are important people in your life. So if I want maybe my child to have a certain standard in life, I need to work and take them to an environment where they can achieve such a standard. You see, I cannot just stick in one place and expect something that cannot happen. It definitely cannot happen. Let me say, for example, your church. We thank God our church is, for people who like speaking English, our church is English speaking church, right? Yeah, so let me say I'm in a Kiswahili speaking church, and then I want my child to know hymnals, you know, in English. How will they know? The environment that they are in, they're exposed to Kiswahili, so environment still matter a lot. Yeah.
So don't pressure your children because you want to attain a certain standard, like other people in church. Yeah, just accept what it is and
work just your level, what you can do maybe to raise the standard and everything, but
should not be too controlling.
Yeah, it should not be too controlling. And this thing to do with the role model, it should not bring some pressure in your life. We also talked about pressure, myself and June, pressure and achievement. You can also watch our previous videos. They have so much messages that can help you in this life. Like a role model, it should not be some kind of pressure. Until now you cannot eat, you cannot do your things because somebody is maybe succeeding in a certain way. That way I think it becomes even more now things like jealousy and envy and everything.
You know, people will change with time. People will come to know the truth with time, or maybe they know but they have not been converted. These people will always change. But now, don't do the wrong things because people are doing what is wrong.
Yeah. Your elder should not be your standard. You cannot set standard with your pastor. They're just a human being like you. Standard is Jesus. Actually, Jesus. Just view the life of Jesus, view the Bible. That should be your standard. It's so childish to set somebody, your fellow human being as a standard. No, it doesn't even
it
make
cannot
sense.
Work like that. Because even when you look at these Bible characters, like Solomon, he was wise, but he had his faults.
Yes.
So we cannot just say that see Solomon pia alikuwa na bibi 300,
and then he starts getting 300 wives and concubines and everything.
Yeah, so you see, when we set people as our standard of measure, we'll be doing what they're doing. Like somebody will say, David was a man after God's heart.
And
so how come, like, whatever he did is still okay because at the end of it all, he was from the lineage of Jesus, from the same lineage as David. So we cannot copy them when they are doing the wrong things, and that cannot be the right standard for us. For us as Christians, our standard is Christ.
Christ and the Bible.
Yeah, stop looking at si mtoto wa Deaconess alishika ball na hata kufanyiwa kitu. So what? Was it right? Is it the right thing?
Is it right to like have a child out of wedlock?
It is not. Yeah, so these things that we've normalized, doing the wrong things and then we put them as a standard is not the right thing. We say Jesus is the only standard of measure.
Yeah,
so we can only follow him where he can only be found and do what he did. so that we can also be saved. He's the only person we can copy, by the way.
Yeah,
we can copy paste.
and we can be safe, you know, copying him. But like we should not like put people to be our mirror and we reflect through them. No, they're just human being. Even God himself says that there's no righteous man in the face of the world.
Yeah.
So why would you think your pastor is righteous? He's definitely struggling with finance bill and everything. He's also just not in the right state of mind as a human being. Yeah, so June, that was a very a very important part that we needed to know, and we thank you for coming up with it. I know we've learned, personally I've learned, and I know you've also learned, and our viewers have also learned. And so yeah, thank you so much. I think I just still have to ask our people to continue subscribing and supporting. Guys, you know, if you don't subscribe and you don't support or comment, it's like we are doing zero work. You know, nobody is getting these messages, and it is not going to make sense. So kindly just support us, and we thank you. We have so much lined up for you, and we will be here with Sister June almost in every episode. And thank you for tuning in for this episode. God bless you. See you again next time. Thank you.
Okay, goodbye, and make sure you click that subscribe button. Please turn on the notification bell and keep sharing.
Yeah. Yes. Bye bye. See you again next time.